Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal. I'm happy and sad for tons of different reasons. Let's talk about it. I love seeing specialists, no matter what that is. I love seeing Mayweather fight, not women. I love to see Damian Maia. I love to see Anderson Silva. It's these technicians that I really enjoy seeing. I love seeing Tyson Fury. I love seeing these people that are very technical and kind of savant. Ben Askren is one of those savants where his wrestling is so dominating. He smothers people and he grapples them to infinity. It's beautiful to watch because it's one of those things where like, stop it from happening. I don't think that laying on people is boring, giggity. If that's part of the game, you have to try to change it. And it's interesting when you do see. That's why the early UFCs were so exciting, because it was like one specialty versus another specialty back before it was really truly mixed martial arts. You would see some wild shit back then. And that's what happened with this fight. Jorge Masvidal. Look, anybody who was saying that knee was luck, go fuck yourself. To pull that off in a fight and the muscle reflex, the timing, the distance, there's so much more going into it rather than just jumping up and throwing the knee. It's calculating your speed versus the opponent's speed. There's so much going on at the same time to be able to pull that off. The timing is perfect. I've heard Jorge Masvidal call himself a simpleton and he's just a dog and the ref has to pull him off. That dude is intelligent as shit and his fight IQ is insane. It goes back to his backyard brawls. That man is calm as fuck in the middle of a firefight. That was one of the greatest things that I've seen in the UFC, if not the greatest, period. Fastest knockout. That shit was not 5 seconds. That was like a 3-second KO. But to be honest, I wish it went longer. I want to see Ben Askren actually really showcase, and I want to see how he actually does when the fight settles and you have to start breaking it down. Because so far, the Robbie Lawler fight, that was a weird fight. It had a lot of controversy in it, and obviously this Jorge Masvidal fight, Ben is going to say, and he should seek solace in it, the fact that he did get caught. But it wasn't because of some silly mistake or anything. He got caught legit, and he even took his hat off to Jorge Masvidal for this finish. One thing I like that Ben Askren handled it is that he didn't go into hiding. He didn't, try not to see comments or, look at the video. He fucking took it straight on, and that's how you have to be. Keep it moving, pimpin'. And shout out to him the way he's handling it. Handling like a man. I love the way 3 fighters have handled their losses. I'm sure there's more, but 3 that have stood out to me. Ben Askren with this loss. Conor McGregor when he lost to, I believe it was Nate Diaz. He was very humble in defeat. My number 1 greatest person that ever handled a loss in the UFC, Dominic Cruz. That post-fight conference that he gave against Cody Garbrandt, phenomenal. That shit is where I get a lot of respect for fighters that lose in such a way and they still are like, you know what? That's what happened. It's like that mastering of the ego. And that's like, oh, that's why you're that good. It's because you learned how to control your ego to the point that you could do this. I digress. The big question is now, what happens with Ben Askren now? What happens with Jorge Masvidal? I personally believe Jorge Masvidal should jump Robbie Lawler and Colby Covington for the title fight. There's some talk about, we're gonna wait and see what happens with that fight before we pick who goes against Usman. No, I don't think that's the case. I think you gotta give Jorge Masvidal this fight. This man has the glow right now, and you making him sit and wait, and we'll figure out who he's gonna fight. If you have this man fight for anything other than a title, shame on you. Shame on Game of Thrones. I haven't forgotten how you ended that season, you piece of shit. So I think Jorge Masvidal should get the next title fight. Obviously, Robbie Lawler's coming off of a controversial loss. Colby Covington has made some weird moves, and that is going to be a great fight. And I think if there was no Jorge Masvidal, those guys are in the running for the title. But I also think Tyron Woodley is still right in there for a rematch. A dominant champion like Tyron Woodley not getting a rematch is interesting. So what do we do with Ben Askren? Well, we don't do shit because I'm just me. I don't have Dana's number. But I feel like, man, I'm sure, I can't imagine he signed anything less than a 3-fight contract. I think you got to give him someone in the farther up top 10. You obviously can't give him a no name. He's too big profile of a fighter and has too big of a name to take someone not in the top 10. But I think at this point, depending how the Colby Covington Robbie Lawler fight goes, you give him the loser of that fight, possibly, or Rafael Dos Anjos. He's there, and I think that might be a better fight for Ben Askren to kind of get his bearings and get some octagon time, The man has had a rough go at things in the cage. We gotta let him get some octagon time. But overall, Jorge Masvidal is the man. I would have loved to see that fight go longer. I don't think it would have gone different. I don't see Jorge getting held down. I thought Jorge Masvidal was going to win by maybe late first round or second round stoppage. I don't know if anybody really expected that. Shout out to Masvidal, Cuban Jesus.